this sound worse?
I don't know if it really
Didn't make a difference, so you can leave it on, I guess.
yeah.
All right. All right. Well, let me call the
Hey, Tom, you're-
informational part of the meeting of Southwestern. What?
Oh, sorry. We're getting some feedback from Todd.
Somebody's not muted.
Unmute Todd. Okay, go for it.
Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Take two.
Yep.
All right. Let's begin the informational part of the regional council meeting. Let's begin. I will ask Alicia to do a roll call attendance, please.
All right. We got Kay Bushman. No. Jessica Gaines.
Here.
Thank you. Scott Lampier. Okay. Dan Mark. Well, I think Scott's name's on there, but I haven't. If you can.
I can see Scott on the camera.
Oh, you can? Okay, I don't
Yeah,
see.
Scott, wave.
Oh, I might need to change my view. I only have it large gallery.
I can see Scott and Dan together.
Scott and Dan are, okay, so Scott and Dan, got you both. Terry Parker, our newest member.
Present.
Welcome, Terry.
Thank you all for your confidence. I hope I can live up to it.
It'll be great. Tom Sampson. Yeah. May Stottlemyre.
Here.
I don't see May. Maggie Thompson. Bonnie Van Housen. And Paul Weaver. Okay, Chris Baker.
I'm on.
Dorothy Button.
I'm here.
Mickey Fornes.
Here.
Ed Frederick.
Here.
Bobby Clue. Carrie Parr.
Here.
Brad Petrozewski. Todd Reisner.
Todd's on.
Thank you, Todd. Dr. Walters.
I'm on, Alicia.
Okay. Priscilla Baines. Doug Conroe. Jen Gutman. All right. Dan Imfeld.
Here.
Bill
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Laura Logan. Kevin Peebles.
Here.
Brian Wilcox.
Here.
Okay, and for guests, I have Ed Major. Donna Kame.
Here.
Myself. Dr. Lamoth.
Here.
Jeff Lucky. I see his name on there. I'm assuming he's Bonnie's alternate for tonight since she's not on. And then the last person I see an Amaya Lee on the list. All right, so that's, we have,
She's leaving.
what was that?
She left. She just left.
Oh, okay, maybe she didn't mean to be here. 15. So we have quorum.
That might have. All right.
Alicia, can you hear Dan and Scott?
Alicia, that might.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
What was that, Tom?
That might have been May logging in under Amaya Lee. I'm not sure. But at any rate, we have a quorum.
Yes, we have a quorum.
Very good. Let's move forward. I apologize for my poor connection. I thought that North Carolina would have better connectivity than this, but by way of correspondence, I have one email to read from Dana Jonas, which we will add to the agenda for discussion under new business. We will not discuss the email at this time. I will simply read it to, and we'll discuss it in the official portion of the meeting. If I can find it again.
While he's looking, Ed, if his connection continues to be bad, do you mind filling in as vice chair or old chair?
Old chair.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. I'm working, but I might get called out, but I can help.
All right, I have the email. It says this: as you know, Chautauqua County has filed a formal appeal of your council's determination last December that denied the approval of the CCEMS municipal ambulance service conversion to permanent authority. The matter has been referred for review by an ALJ so that the appeal can then go before the SEMSCO. The county has engaged legal counsel to represent them in the appeal. Does Southwestern Regional EMS have counsel that I can refer the assigned ALJ to interact, or your designee be handling that aspect of the appeal? And then he asks for the contact information of the person that will be representing our council during the appeal process. I have no other correspondence. Moving ahead with officer reports. The chairperson, I have would also like to welcome Terry Parker to the council. I'm happy to have you representing Allegheny County, and look forward to working with. Another thing that I forgot to add to the agenda was the report of the bylaws committee on the task that we gave them at the last meeting. So Mickey, I assume as spokesman of that committee, will look for your report in the official portion of the meeting. I have nothing else. Vice Chairperson?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Treasurer?
May sent me her report. She just wanted, the only change was a deposit of $6,319.78 from DOH from the April to June 2020 time period. She has not set up the online account yet. And she says prepping for maternity leave was her excuse because she just had a new baby. And she will get that done by the end of the month.
Very good. Thank you. And congratulations, the new baby. Past Chairperson?
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Ed. Let's move ahead with committee reports, beginning with the REMAC.
So at the last REMAC meeting, which was on St. Patrick's Day, there was not a whole lot discussed, just a couple of things. The big item being that PPA skills are going to be required by the normal deadline of June 30th this year. So agencies and all providers will need to complete those like they normally do. The RTAC did approve the TXA protocol and the collaborative protocol changes. So the regional trauma advisory committee approved that for use in our area. However, we're still awaiting all of those previously discussed updates to the collaborative protocols. Those are still waiting for the Commissioner of Health for his approval to sign those before those will go into effect. So once that happens, then obviously some information will be set out, the updates and education or things like that. And those were the big things. There's also a group, I don't know if it's a subcommittee or a tag that's going to be looking at our SCT protocols and reviewing and beginning to update those in the future. And I think that those were the big issues, unless Alicia or anybody else remembers anything else.
Didn't Josh talk about some changes to the REMAC protocol regarding handing off patient care? I thought that was approved. We changed the wording in the policy to reflect not only IV administration, but other medication administration routes that were below the receiving provider's scope of practice.
It was approved and it is on the REMAC website under the policies.
Yeah, that was I thought it was a pretty minor change. It basically said that if you gave any medication that's outside the scope of practice of the provider you're handing off care to, you have to call medical control. I think that was the gist of it. Is that right, Alicia? I mean, it wasn't really anything that was substantial. There was an issue with, it sounds like some call somewhere in the region, and which actually the whole issue was already covered by the old policy, but this just kind of solidified some of the language, I guess.
Yeah, I certainly agree, Doctor. I think the intranasal use of ketamine, I think, was the driver on his position, but correct me if my memory escapes me.
Any questions for Dr. Walters regarding the REMAC? Very good. Is there a CMAC or SEMSCO update?
Doesn't meet until the end of May.
Very good. Thank you. I will not forget STEMS this meeting, so STEMS.
Hi, I sent the report out earlier today so you can take a look at it. The biggest things that we've had is that we secured a grant to run an EMTB academy. So we'll be running that over the summer, which will be a class to get about some new EMTs employed working at some agencies in the area. So we're excited about that. As Dr. Walter said, annual skills will be due June 30th to us. We've already had some agencies start to, work on sending those in, so that's great. Due to a request from some people, we are currently working on revamping the preceptor course. We're going to, usually the course just covers how to fill out the paperwork. We're hoping to cover how to set up and actually be a preceptor and, make sure people are doing the skills properly. So we're working on filming little short videos on each skill. I have Brian coming in early next week to film some of them. So we're excited to be able to make that available to the region once it's complete. And then just an update on the, I don't know if this would be the time to say it, but the SWREMS contract did end up being executed. And so we are, which is great news. So we're, Donna and I are going to work on getting everything done by the end of the quarter. So that's just a short update. And that's all I have, unless Donna would like to add anything.
Alicia, did you get your contract renewed?
Or
Like for the July
For the program agency, yes.
No, not for, I mean, we're approved right now through June 30th. That is it.
Correct.
And that was what the $6,000 deposit into the account that the treasurer reported on earlier, correct?
The $6,000 was for, they did a 1 quarter contract like extension for SWREMS to get their fiscal year to match the program, to be July start instead of April start. So it was a 1 quarter for $6,250, and then there was some interest on that.
And that was from April of last year till June of last year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the contract I was speaking of being executed was the July 1st contract that ends June 30th.
That just was approved.
So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Alicia or Donna? Let's move to Ed Major and the Department of Health report.
Hang on a minute. I just took an incoming call from a medical director. I'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay. Let's move ahead with some of our others. Any community relations report?
I think it's, I think Alicia sent out something on the EMS awards, and I've thought for years it's something that we have a lot of good providers in our region. We really should get some of those out there or nominate some people. So if you know of anybody or do of anything, I mean, we should try and get as many as we possibly can to our area. So if we could, I don't know, should we send it out again and maybe list the awards that are out there? So if someone sees it fits, if someone fits a certain award, they might nominate them for it, or are there any ideas?
I can certainly send it out with a more detailed email.
Maybe just the positions that are open, and maybe that'll spur someone to say, oh, I know a guy that fits, or a girl that fits that position perfectly, and maybe that'll help.
Yeah, Alicia, I agree. I think if we can get out the kind of main categories that this award calls for would be helpful. I don't necessarily agree with the way the state has these awards broken out, but nevertheless, having that kind of handy when we're thinking about this would be helpful.
Yeah, I can make a more detailed email and send it out.
And there's also the newer awards, the innovation awards, which seem to be a lot less restrictive. So we'll make sure that those get out too.
Yeah, because the innovation ones don't come to the regional councils. They just go directly to the state. But I think, we still should get some people to apply for those as well, because I think we have a very innovative region.
That's all I have. Thank you.
And I agree that we have a very innovative region. Education Committee, Nikki?
Yeah, the conference for the spring has been canceled, and we're going to look for the fall and see if we can get that up and running. Also, OEN General Core Sponsorship is working with an Allegheny County provider on the CC2P bridge course. So that's exciting. So for us to do again. That's really about it.
Tom, that's it, Major. I'm back. I'm sorry.
All right, Ed. Yeah, perfect timing. Go ahead with your report.
Sure. Just a couple things. One is I'm sure everybody, STEMS had distributed the Bureau's policy specific to Ebola. There was an additional case, I believe, today. Not in the U.S., but that'll sort of reset that clock a little bit. So the timing of that Ebola policy has relevance, and everybody should have situational awareness to that, and the proper procedures related to Ebola, in addition to all the COVID activities that remain active. New York State still has not changed the masking requirements, so even though you're vaccinated, masking is still required. I think they're going to see some modifications to that on a go forward in compliance with CDC, but currently the state has not updated the guidance related to EMS agencies masking when in the whether in quarters or on the ambulance, et cetera. So that is still an important piece. We've had a few complaints recently regarding masking. The other, I just want to say, Alicia and Donna, you guys should be commended for all the work you've done with the PEC coordination, really a lead, across New York State, and mentioned several times by the EMS for Children components of our bureau. And I think that's just an important thing that you got great leadership there and important component. I don't think I have anything else pending any questions. Just give you those briefs there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions for Ed?
Ed, this is Todd. I have one question. Has the Bureau taken up any think time regarding the state's passage of legalization of marijuana as it relates to operations within the EMS community?
Yeah, obviously there's been some discussion. I anticipate some guidance coming out, but I don't even want to make a guarantee, on that currently. Todd, there's been some preliminary discussion, and obviously we need to ensure that EMS professionals are not considered under a mind-altering type substance, whether it be alcohol, drugs, or what have you. So I think that you'll probably see some updated guidance on that as they work through that. But certainly, I have seen a bunch of the district attorneys come out with different inclusion criteria related to what is considered to be impaired and those kind of components. So I think we're still waiting for those things to thresh out, but we'll make sure that it's on the agenda with the director and kind of have some form of communication.
I just think if we had some guidance from the Bureau, it would be helpful from an operational standpoint, because, clearly I don't want to get into any wrongful termination or, any of that. I don't want to get into the weeds on that. I want to make sure that, we have some clarity and how we handle. That was not a joke.
If this thing is already, sort of been passed or whatever, I mean, I think agencies should certainly review their substance, policy. Usually alcohol is like, 8 or 10 hours in advance of your shift or something to that effect. It is what it is related to it being legal, but it's certainly not, the safety and, safe operation of our EMS agencies and providers and certainly the public are utmost priority. So I will make sure that
the DOT would kind of want to weigh in here as well.
I'm sorry, say it again. I missed you.
Oh, I think the DOT would want to kind of weigh in here as well.
Yeah,
I'm anxious for some guidance.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But I don't have anything official to release to you at this point. But I will obviously communicate. We communicated in our internal management meetings and brief discussions about it, but I'm not sure where command and control is going to come down with what direction they're going to take on it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your insight.
Hi, Mr. Majors. I got a question. Question for Ed Major. The health department has come out with a new statement regarding annual PPDs going to a TV surveillance, not requiring annual PPDs. Is that something you guys are working on?
Hang on just 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, my computer's going a little crazy here. I got 6 things popping up. Say it again, Dan. I missed what you said. Something about PPE, correct?
PPDs, TV surveillance.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
went from an annual requirement to a TV surveillance, not.
Yeah, I sent our current policy where that falls over to Alicia. Alicia, could you forward that over to Dan? That we had at
I
least
thought I did share it with you, Dan.
We did share it. How it's up to agency policy and all that.
Yes, it's up to agency policy related to
It's
that.
not a
Whether you
state
But you have to follow OSHA and PESH and all those other things. But the Bureau doesn't have a specific policy in relation to PPD.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
OSHA that's recommend every 6 months. So, it's one of those follow all other applicables under, that's where it falls. We don't specifically mention it in any of the regulations. So yeah, Alicia has exactly what we have, documented official stance on it.
So,
Right.
so I think what you're saying is we're given just enough rope to hang ourselves.
Well, I think that, whether you're using an OC Health or, you've got to follow the PESH and OSHA rules on PPE testing, or I'm sorry, PPD testing as far as TB testing, which I think they recommend at least annually or even every 6 months. But we don't control their regulation, and it's not specifically outlined in the regulation. I'd have to look up exactly what I had sent. It was a couple weeks ago to Alicia. Alicia, if you have that and you want to, re-forward that out, it's it should be shared with everybody. But that's the department's take on it. There's specific things that are outlined that you have to have, medical records, physical, etc.
I think there's a section in the respiratory protection plan for OSHA that kind of spells it out, but
Yeah,
I'll have to read it again.
And most agencies are either contracting with AccuHealth or something, some other type of service, to conduct those types of things. But we when we come in, we generally check that you've got appropriate policies, procedures. We check that you've got your medical records are separate from your employee files, and that the minimum standards related to what's outlined specifically in regulation is adhered to. So, but we don't enforce PESH or OSHA. It would be a referral type situation if there was a complaint or something to that effect. But I know you're looking for agency guidance, and I wish I could say, here it is, it's concrete, it's every 6 months that you have to do it. But I don't have that.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ed Major? Thank you, Ed, for your report. Finishing up the Education Committee's report, any questions for Mickey Fornes?
Tom, I think we should, we had the discussion about ordering those various educational things for the different core sponsors and such. And now that we have a contract, I think we should move on and get that ordered. If nobody, we did vote on it, but I think now's the time to order.
I agree, and we'll move forward with that. Thank you. Brian Wilcox, EMS Service.
Nothing to report at this time.
I'll bet it feels good to say that.
Oh, yes.
Legislative Committee.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Membership Committee.
I'll have 2 items under new business. Other than that, nothing.
Thank you, Dan. Let's move to county reports, beginning with Allegheny County.
This is Jeff. We've had 27 people with their EMT last fall. We're planning on 21 posting out next month. And we got a current CME class that finishes up tonight with about 7 people in it. That's about it, other than our office and the assistance from others. We've been working with Department of Health, vaccinating, which has tied up a lot of NPS and our office. At some point, we may need to reach out to some more of the EMS community for assistance, but this time we're able to meet the need. End of report.
Thank you. Do you have any idea, Jeff, of how many vaccines that the EMS folks have helped administer?
If we've done the thousands, so we're good there. If we get something crazy again, I mean, we had 3,000 sent to us last week, 2 weeks ago. Almost coming up here now, and that was quite a bit. And thanks to other counties coming down, we got rid of every vaccine, got into an arm. But we're looking at next week. We have one of our biggest claims coming back. Those people are coming back for their second doses on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we might have some people off. Right now it's kind of covered. Oh, we'll be reaching out to some if we need additional help.
Thank you. Any questions for Jeff and Allegheny County? Let's move to Cattaraugus County.
It's Bobby. So we've been busy with vaccination pods between our office and the health department, along with various other agencies from the county. Same as Jeff, we're able to support the need currently. We've reached out into other departments of the government to try to grab some help for the pod, but right now we're able to sustain within the county network. We just finished up our practical skills exam in the Great Valley course. They'll be testing or eligible to test here at the end of the month. Fall classes, we don't have anything on those right now. We will be working on them in the future. I mentioned at our county council meeting, I'll just keep it quick here. We're seeing an issue with people testing, getting tested after they are eligible for the test. They seem to be putting it off and waiting. Percentage we're at. I don't know for sure, but there's a significant number that don't end up testing. Other than that, there is a vaccine pod tomorrow in Olean. If anybody's interested, I believe there's still some Moderna appointments open later in the afternoon. If anybody's interested right now, J&J.
Hey, Bobby.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Bobby, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think you cut out there. Your last topic that you were talking about kind of cut out about testing.
Okay, so I'll real quick. Testing. We've noticed we've had some problems with students testing, or once they become eligible to test, they actually sit for the written exam because of the computer-based testing. They don't always sign up, and then they've reached their 365-day deadline before they're able to test. It's just a little more difficult because it's not that one testing day at the end of the class that presents some challenges. So we're exploring some options. We're going to pull some numbers to see what those are, and see if we can maybe try to come up with a solution to that.
So let me ask you this: do you think requiring a student to have some skin in the game might be beneficial to solving this problem? Or
yeah, that's one option. We talked about making them pay tuition, and then if we get state reimbursement, we could pay that back or reimburse them back for that, or something to put something in the game.
It'd be interesting to hear what the other counties think about this idea, because I would imagine they probably are feeling the same.
Yeah, no, I agree, Todd.
Feeling.
Yeah, my opinion though is I don't want to put financial reasons in the barrier for EMS training, and I feel that if we require tuition right out of the gate for a basic EMT class, we may see lower numbers.
Oh, I
is that going
agree.
to result in a lower end number in the
100%.
game? I don't know. you know, and each agency is different. I think there's some agencies that would probably not have a problem footing the money for their providers, but there's other agencies that I know for a fact will not. And I guess the question is,
and when we're talking about maintaining our volunteer presence, I agree 100% that this would be a huge impediment to our volunteer brothers in EMS for sure. But I would just like to kind of wake up the other counties. Please speak up on this issue because we want to talk about it and see if we can find solutions rather than barriers.
Yep, and I guess
we did look into it. Most counties do charge. We're one of the only areas that don't charge for the class.
Chautauqua, what do you guys think?
We're reluctant to charge.
Allegheny County.
I don't think we've run across it yet where we had trouble with I'm not aware of anybody yet that expired in time. I know it's been some time, so I don't think that's been an issue with us, and absolutely charging with the resistance, met with resistance and declining numbers. You know, you're asking the EMTs for a lot of volunteer hours just to attend class, and the charge on top of that would be detrimental.
And Todd, if I could answer your question, I'm sorry, Jeff, but we've not had that problem that's been noticeable as far as numbers of people. Pretty much everybody that completes the class takes the test, and we get feedback.
We had a problem many years ago when students were at JCC, the class, Ron's class down there. The college, not Ron, not the program, decided to test anybody coming into the college to take the course. You had to pass a reading skills test or a math test. Well, a lot of people coming in were refreshers. They had to take the test. They didn't refresh. That move by JCC gutted our EMT program in the county. It's taken us a long time to recover. Just the last 2 semesters, they've allowed us to not test to take the course again. And by charging students to come into the program, we may have the same effect on it.
I think, Mickey, I think you have an opinion on this because we've discussed this before about pre-testing before a program.
Yeah, I think that the community college, that's their policy, that we have no control over that as long as the community college is running the program. We did try that several years ago, doing a pre-test to take people into when we were still teaching the critical care course. And it was not a positive experience, and we would have lost purely by the test results, we'd have lost the majority of people who applied. So obviously there were issues with that. So that was the one and only attempt we made, and we let it go after that.
Any other questions or comments for Bobby and the Cattaraugus County team?
Bobby, I'm sorry to interrupt your mojo. I just wanted to discuss.
It's a good discussion, and maybe I'll be a little bit surprised when I dig into the numbers a little bit, rather than looking at face value. But I think we have a problem, so we'll look in the mirror and figure if it's something on our end and provide a little encouragement to test sooner rather than later, rather than putting cash in the game, because that would be my last resort.
And Bobby had asked me to bring that to state council, and he's going to provide me with some of the numbers that he digs up, and we'll see if it's significant or not significant, and if others are having issues. So ongoing.
Hey, Ed, I think we talked about this at our county meeting the other day, and I think that because there's this concern that since they have so much time to schedule it on their own, that people may not schedule it right away. I think a lot of us who teach know that people think, oh, I'm not quite ready. I want to take a couple more weeks. I'm going to study, then I'll take the exam and I'll do better. And then we know life happens and other things, and they end up not studying, and then they keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. And so my guess is this is probably not unique to our region or one county, and that it will probably be seen more and more as we have more time with the online testing and that. So from the state level, Ed, is there data on this as to how long after completion of a course the average EMT or paramedic takes their exam, and also data on how long after their like how long they wait from the completion of class to testing, how their scores do? Because my guess is the longer people wait in general, probably the lower they score on the test.
The variation of the score is what you're anticipating. I could ask Gene Taylor that. I know that they've made you know, there's a few things that they've done, and you know, one is that to you know, there's a lot of focus that has been on retesting, so you don't have to wait. I think that there's been communication about that, certainly on the course sponsor calls recently. As far as the data goes, Doc, I don't have access to it, but certainly I could forward your request up to Gene Taylor to say, hey, have we looked at that? I mean, you know, realistically, I would think that your theory is absolutely right. The longer the delay, you know, the lower the score potentially. You know, we want them to get in there and take it while it's fresh, and well, the material is, you know, they have it sort of at their fingertips. But I know they've really been sorting through a series of issues with PSI. They've made a lot of progress related to advancing and improving that, and certainly. I know the one recent focus has been the retesting. You know, you can almost do it within the same week, and I think you can do it up to. Don't quote me. I think it's at least 3 times, and maybe 4 times before you have to do a research. So is it 3, Mickey? I see you shaking your head.
It's 3. Hey, Ed, it's you can retest 3 times, and then if you fail it, each time you fail it, you can go in to the PSI site and reschedule your exam the next morning.
Right,
so
exactly.
you can't do it the same day.
Like
You got to do it
48 hours, right, Ryan, that they're saying. Yeah. So you know, but I agree with you. The challenge is that you know we still batch those all together. So from a course sponsor standpoint, you're looking to say, you know, when did these people test and people fall off of the tracks and life gets in the way, like you say, Doc, and I you know I think that the email notifications and that kind of stuff, I think they're trying to strengthen that a little bit too. But it was a very good question. I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but I certainly, in a moment here, I'll send her an email to say, have we looked at that statistically?
Yeah, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian Wilcox. From a course sponsor standpoint, I think our control is muted because it's student-driven scheduling, correct?
Yes, our paramedic class last year, they all tested early, and that was because I was on them. I did everything but put a tent up in their front yards to make sure they scheduled their test. I did the same thing when we did our AEMT. I find my biggest problem is I don't know when I'll know that they tested if they tell me, but I don't know the outcome if they don't call me. So that retest is where on the AEMT class, that's where I had my difficulty.
So Ed, do you think the state can provide course sponsors with some clarity on that particular point? Because that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess, Brian, what I would do is I would encourage, you know, here's the deal. They have those, you know, the course sponsor calls, you know, every couple of weeks or whatever. Really, that's the best forum to bring it up on because, you know, I'm really an ops guy. I support, you know, I support education. I do all I can to, but really,
Dude, Ed, you're amazing. Come on.
It's McMillan and Gene Taylor that really they do the administration, they do the direct interaction with PSI, and they look for enhancements and they really I gotta say I think that they're really listening to the course sponsors to make improvements and that kind of stuff. So I would just make sure that you get on that sponsor call, put that in the Q&A, send Gene an email, send John McMillan an email. You know, certainly copy me if you want. I'll be glad to try to push those things and drive them forward.
Yeah, Brian, we need to make some noise.
Well, the medic level's all changed now anyway because it's nationally registered test the first time.
The situation with PSI has been, you know, it's been a bit rocky. They've made some significant improvements. I do have to say that, but I wouldn't want to stay there and say that the system is perfect. And I think that we've got to do our best to close that loop so that you guys get what you need so that you can effectively do your job. So, and to be a successful sponsor.
Well, the other thing too on the testing side is it's great that we can do it with the schedule on our own. You know, I'm available Thursday. Well, there's no spots available Thursday, so then you drag it out. I can do it next Thursday. There's no spots. It pushes them back that way, not through their own fault sometimes, but just because there's not enough seats available. Because this agency also does more than just EMT tests. They do other testing for other organizations, and they do gun permits.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think, you know, technology is probably still a little bit of a barrier, but I know that, you know, they schedule, you know, proctors to proctor your test right at your home too, you know, with the appropriate technology. So you don't have to go to a test site to take that, to take the exam. It may not work for everybody, but it does, it is an option that has been maybe not as well known as it should be.
I got mine done and passed again, so.
This is
Can
Jeff.
I
Hearing the conversations going on, I got one bit of input. What about, you know, talking about the monetary thing? I think the monetary thing up front would be bad, but on the back end, it might not be so bad. So what if we had something in the contract that they sign? And as others mentioned, we don't have contact with the students once they leave our class. It kind of goes back to the agency. If we had something in a contract that if they haven't taken a test within 6 months, the agency owes us half of our expected return from the state. And if after 1 year we get the full amount back, again, you know, it's hard of us for depositing checks and holding on to stuff, and but just that extra deterrent, giving a reasonable timeline of 6 months, and us for if after a year they haven't done it and they're no longer eligible, we did our part. We put forth the effort. We provided them with the skills and the training. It was up to the student to finish up. And my last point is I saw Terry had his hand raised for a question or something like that. He might be on the same page. I don't know.
Well, actually, no, Jeff, what I was doing, I actually checked our stat to report that we have not had a single student who completed the class who did not test. Not that they all passed, but every one of them tested. We didn't have any problem with them putting it off and never testing. So, I mean, that's not an issue for us, and I don't know, you know, what the problem is with some of the students elsewhere. I think Brian had a good point. Set up a tent in their front yard if you have to.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Terry. I think clarity from the course sponsor is imperative, and probably this forum's not the best place to flesh it out. Probably the other calls that Ed mentioned. So that's my 2 cents.
I agree. If the chairman can reassert himself into the conversation, let's continue to monitor that situation. I know that you will be cooperative with Bobby if he needs information to counties, and we will add this to old business for the next meeting so that we continue to monitor it. But if we can, let's move on to the Chautauqua County report.
Okay, this is Dan. Basically, since the last meeting, we've got a new Director of Emergency Services. That's Noel Gutman. He's with Mayville Fire. He's a paramedic. He's been Tech Rescue Coordinator. He will be serving as one of our new members' alternates. I have moved from my spot as hazmat coordinator back to EMS coordinator. As last EMS coordinator back in, I think, 2007 or 8. So I'm going back to where I started with. County's holding a lot of vaccination clinics. I believe there was one at UPMC Chautauqua on the 9th. When I checked yesterday, they were still like 300 open spots. So anybody who's going to be in the county and they need a vaccination, you might check that one. And basically, that's about it.
Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan in Chautauqua County? I appreciate, and I'm sure the county appreciates your flexibility, Dan, in moving between positions. Let's begin the official portion of the meeting. Just a couple of housekeeping
Hey,
items.
Tom,
since,
excuse me. I hate to interrupt, but I do have one more question for Ed regarding community paramedicine. I know Ryan had talked about the state's kind of openness to EMS squads doing COVID vaccinations. Where do we stand on that? I know initially, after reading the state's guidelines, I had no desire to do that, but has there been a big willingness for EMS agencies to do it, or is it kind of?
Yeah, Todd, my response would be is that I think that they've got over 40. Sorry, my phone's going off here. They got about 40 some odd applications. They've approved a significant number of those already, and I think that Ryan is pushing out that he is looking to get at least one EMS agency per county to be able to do the community paramedicine. I mean, it's a community paramedicine program really specific to community vaccinations and vaccinations in the homes and congregate settings and collaboration with your county health department and those kinds of things. But I think they've pretty much done a very good job on developing a template to give to EMS agencies. Obviously, it's got to match your county and your EMS agency's needs, and it can't all just be carbon copied because they're regionalized in a sense. But I think that the program, I know Wayne County has started one. Erie County is also doing it. In this particular region, I'm trying to think. There's another Monroe County based service that has done it. There's a bunch that are in Syracuse, certainly in the Albany area, but it is helping out. And I think the other component of it is this community paramedicine policy statement is specific to vaccinations under the emergency order. And I think the goal is to say that EMS has done remarkable work with this particular community paramedicine program. Also, the vaccination, working in pods, and doing vaccinations through other mechanisms and utilizing the EMS staff to do that. And so I think that the future, this is sort of the foundation in building upon a community paramedicine program that will really grow into the future beyond the executive order and beyond vaccinations. I mean, that's my take on what I think Ryan's vision is. Obviously, we have to keep narrowly focused on this particular approval process and what has to be included in the community paramedicine process. But there's a great template, Todd, and certainly I know a lot of the rural counties are certainly in need of these types of situations. So I'm happy to get that template, share it with you, and if you have further questions, I'd be glad to even meet with you face to face or whatever you want to do.
All right, cool. Appreciate it.
All right, let's move ahead with the official portion of the meeting. A couple of housekeeping things. Because we're having some connectivity issues for motion, I will ask for opposition only. If no one opposes, we will continue to move. So again, I will ask for opposition only. We'll, of course, still have motions and seconds. And I'd ask that you would announce your name as you make a motion or a second so that we can keep an accurate record of for the minutes of the meeting. Having said that, we'll call the official portion of the meeting to order. Alicia, would you like to check the roll to see if anyone has been added since we began?
Yes, so I believe Bobby was added. Right, Bobby, you're here?
I am here.
Okay, and then I believe that was the only person that joined after the roll, so we still have a quorum.
And just for clarification, Carrie Parr left, but Dan is her alternate.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you. So we have a quorum. Alicia sent out a meeting via email. Is there a motion to accept them?
So moved, Bill Johnston.
Second, Mickey.
Thank you. Thank you. Moved and all opposed, please raise your hand. The minutes are approved. Treasurer's report.
It looks like May didn't join us, so I did share earlier that the only thing that happened since the last meeting is a check was received from the state in the total of $6,319.78.
Thank you, Alicia. Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Motion to accept, Todd Reisner.
Is there a second?
Bobby Coon.
Have a motion and second. All those opposed, please make your wishes known somehow. Very well, the treasurer's report is accepted. I'm going to ask Alicia to read the enforcement notifications, please.
All right. Let's see. Andrea Volick of 60 Turner Place, Brooklyn, New York, had their certificate surrendered effective 2/17/2021, EMT number 459181, for violation of 10 NYCRR 800.16A7. The next one is for Justin Oberek, 920 West Gray, Elmira, New York, EMT number 458902, suspended for 1 year effective 3/13/21. The suspension is stayed, placed on probation for 3 years effective 3/13/21, assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of 10 NYCRR Part 800.16A2. The next one is Benjamin Tesmer, 3264 Lake Heights Drive, Hamburg, New York, EMT number 448924, suspended 1 year effective 3/23/21. The suspension is stayed, placed on probation for 3 years effective 3/23/21. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of 10 NYCRR Part 800.15.3 and 800.16A13. Gerald Botcher, 40 Maplewood Street, West Hampstead, New York, EMT number 398306. His certification is surrendered effective 3/31/21 for violations of 10 NYCRR Part 800.15A1, 800.15A2, 800.16A2, 800.16A3, and 800.16A11. And then we have two agencies. We got Citywide Mobile Response Corps, 1624 Stillwell Ave, Bronx, New York, agency code 7046. They're assessed a civil penalty of $25,000. Of that, $12,500 is suspended pending completion of a 2-year period of improved performance effective 1/22/21. They must engage a consultant from the New York City REMSCO, submit a plan of correction, a DOH 1811, and their vehicle fleet is limited. For violations of Article 30, Section 3012 1B and 10 NYCRR Part 800, 800.21, 800.3, 800.24, and 800.23. And the last one is South Farmingdale Fire Department, 819 Main Street, South Farmingdale, New York, agency code 2983, suspended for 1 year effective 1/19/21. Suspension is stayed pending no further violations for 3 years. Civil penalty of $2,000 for violation of 10 NYCRR Part 800.23A and Public Health Law Article 3012 1B. And that is all of them.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Under old business, Education Committee spending has been discussed in Mickey's report, and we will move forward with ordering the supplies recommended and approved by the council. We had a rather lively discussion on the EPCR transition. Is there any update on that from the state?
I have something real quick, Tom. It was on my report and I didn't bring it up under STEMS, but we had all the agencies in the area were really compliant and really great to work with on meeting the 3/31 deadline. So I thought it went really well. So we're working with getting everyone now to go live. So we are grateful that we had a region that didn't give as many issues as some of the other regions had.
Very good. Thank you, Alicia. And then finally, I added under old business the report of the bylaws committee. We had tasked them last meeting with looking into the alternate representative situation. Mickey, if you would go ahead with your report.
Sure. And doing some digging around, I didn't find that this would be improper for a person to be an alternate for more than one member. I did send out a statement, and I think Tom sent it out to the whole group. I can read it into the record, and it's under alternates. All members may appoint an alternate. The alternate should be knowledgeable about current EMS issues. An individual may serve as an alternate for more than one council member. An alternate will have the right to vote if attending in the place of the council member. If the individual serves as an alternate for more than one member, at the beginning of the meeting, they will declare who they are representing and will only have one vote and count as one person in establishing a quorum. Got no comments back from anybody, so I assume everybody was happy with it. And since it met all the criteria, we could go ahead and have a vote if Tom wants to call for that.
I would move the amendment to the bylaws. I think it only makes sense.
I'll second
The
that.
motion.
Second,
Motion
Bill.
by Terry Parker, seconded by Bill Johnston. Is there any discussion?
Move the question.
All those in opposition, if there's any opposition, please make yourself known. Otherwise, the motion will be passed. Hearing or seeing no opposition, the motion is approved. Thank you once again, Mickey, to you and your ad hoc committee for your excellent work.
Good job, Mickey.
Daniel Parr owes you dinner. Is there any other old business? Hearing none, we will move to new business. I will give the floor to Dan Imfeld for membership committee recommendations.
In keeping with the motion we just passed, Carrie Parr has nominated or informed us that Daniel Parr will be her alternate. Again, we do not need to take a vote on that. It's just notification. The second item I have is Chautauqua County has decided to fill Ron Hassan's spot, and they have given us the name of Tim Carlson. And Tim is the senior paramedic with CCEMS. So I guess I'll move that we accept Tim Carlson as a representative filling Ron Hassan's empty spot on the council.
I'll second it, Bill John.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Is this an at-large membership or someone that needs to be appointed by the county?
The county council recommends to us, and then we either accept or reject. This is not an at-large position. It's a county recommended position.
Okay, gotcha.
Hearing no further discussion, we will vote. Again, all those in opposition, please make yourselves known. Otherwise, the motion will be carried. Hearing no opposition, the motion is carried for Tim Carlson to become a member of the Regional Council. Did you have anything else, Dan?
Nope, that's it. I'll let Tim know.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, and Alicia, I'll get you his bio sheet.
Thank you.
The only other thing I have under new business regards the email that I read for you at the top of our meeting from Dana Jonas, and inquiring as to whether the regional council will have legal counsel representing them in the appeal of Chautauqua County, or if someone from the council will be representing the council. I am not comfortable filling the position of legal representative in this matter. I also have not been in this position before as chairperson. What are your thoughts as a council?
I will chime in if nobody else wants to speak on this matter. If legal counsel has been retained, I think we are obligated to do the same, so we are not at a disadvantage in the legal realm. I understand that there may be costs involved in this, and that may sour other members of the council. But our legal standing as a REMAC is at risk here, or is at stake here. I think there is some concern that we as essentially a governing body of our region, has to stand fast and stand strong. It's my opinion.
Can I ask a question? And given that I'm the new kid on the block, number one, many of you know I have some legal background, but I can't help you out in this because of my restrictions on my job. But given that this is a quasi-governmental body, is this something that the health department can refer and have the Attorney General's office represent us?
I will ask Ed Major if he knows the answer to that question, as I do not.
Silence speaks volumes.
I just want to say, I want to just talk about the process for a second. Once this has gone to the state and the Chautauqua County has put in an appeal, it goes to an ALJ who reviews all the information. No new information can be taken in. Terry, correct me if I'm not getting this quite right.
No, you're 100% right now, Nick.
And then they review the case, and then they make a recommendation back to the state council. And then the state council makes a determination of how they want to handle this. So that's just kind of the process. And having seen several of them go through before, I'm not aware that necessarily the regional councils have had legal representation. But that's certainly just something to think about. Since the appeals group has got a lawyer for their benefit, I think it is something that we do need to at least talk about and make some decision on.
I would like to offer, at least as a opening salvo, we may be able to engage with Taddeo, Shahan, and Reisner on a initial consultation. They are well versed. That legal group is well versed in CON issues. Karen Taddeo was the author of the CON process at its inception, and that legal group could give us some relatively free or low cost advice.
I was waiting for that word, Todd.
I'm sorry, it's Ed Major. I had 32 windows open and I couldn't find the meeting, so I was on mute. But I heard your question about the having the Attorney General represent the council. But what I would suggest that if you're looking for that type of request, that you email that. You can email it to me. I will send it up to our Division of Legal Affairs for an opinion on that. I can't answer that at this meeting, though. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you.
I think Todd's suggestion is probably a more expeditious way of handling it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that assessment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Scott Lanfear. I guess 2 points to make is I think that we as a council should be able to sit high that we handled this CON action to the letter of 0606. We really put a lot of time and effort into discussion. And at the end of the day, Mickey's absolutely right. No new evidence can be presented, and it really lies on the voting members of the SEMSCO. So I don't think that we as a council did anything wrong. We did our due diligence, and I think we did it very well. And it could go one way or the other by the vote of the SEMSCO, just like it went through our council that way. So I don't know if we really need legal counsel to represent us. We did the fact finding. and we voted. I don't think there's any question that the vote wasn't within policy and that we didn't meet all the requirements of 0606. So if that would be a concern, I would think we would need legal counsel, but I don't think that is at all. I think we met the requirements solidly.
Tim, are there, what would be your take on this?
My opinion is this isn't something that's going to go in front of the SEMSCO in late May, right? Or at the next SEMSCO meeting.
No.
My opinion would be, is Mr. Major said, is to look out through the Bureau of EMS and see our best course of action and stand fast at this point in what we've done thus far. And, you know, appreciate what Scott had said and just kind of wait and see approach and move on from that at the June meeting.
Mickey, tell me if I'm wrong, but it could be a year
understand.
before we see anything.
Donna, did you ask something? I didn't.
I said it could be up to a year before we see anything. Correct?
Yeah, it's not. It won't be a fast turnaround.
It won't be
Very
a June
unlikely.
meeting.
Terry Parker.
I don't know if we can't engage with Taddeo and Shahan in a general conversation without generating a bill. I don't know if it can't hurt to have some legal representation.
The floor recognizes Terry Parker.
Thank you, Chairman. This is just my 2 cents, because I don't know the background of this because it's before I joined the council, but when you have a referral to an administrative law judge, it is sometimes good to have boots on the ground with representation earlier rather than later. I understand Mr. Major's position of requesting and having it go up through the channels of the AG's office. I was looking at that as a way to avoid expense to the council. But if Todd is correct and we can get perhaps a preliminary opinion on the way to approach this from the firm that he mentioned, it wouldn't do any harm at this point. Not necessarily naming them to Chautauqua County as far as the counsel for us. However, to get them engaged so they can give some advice on what direction should happen. To address Scott's comments, I'm sure that this body deliberated and made the decision in the appropriate way. That doesn't mean a lot when it comes to the presentation to the administrative law judge, because whoever's talking to them and presenting their argument, that sometimes can persuade them in what their opinion is and what they report as far as, you know, what action is recommended. So it would be my motion at this point that the council at least explore the firm that Mr. Reisner mentioned to see what representation or advice they could proffer without engaging in a formal retainer or expense to the council. That would be my motion. I'll put that in front of the council, and I mean, if it's not going to cost us anything and we can get an opinion, I think that's the wise way to go without tipping our hand as to who might be or might not be representing us.
We have a motion from Terry Parker. Is there a second?
It's Mickey. I'll second that.
Is there a second to the motion? Thank you, Mickey. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion?
Yeah, this is Tim.
Hearing none, we will bring- Yes, Tim?
Yeah, I'm going to go on record. I'm going to oppose this at this point in time, just because I think we should let the Bureau of EMS flesh this out before we make a decision of hiring outside counsel.
Well, I'm not saying hire them. I'm saying at least consult them and see what they would offer.
But your motion was specific that we not incur any cost in doing that, correct?
Correct.
This is Ed Frederickson. I kind of agree with Tim. I don't think that we went. I think they explained it in the whole process that this was the next step. If it didn't pass, this was the next step. It wasn't that we did anything wrong. It's the next step. So I'd like to see some guidance from the state.
Very good. Is there any other discussion?
It's Bobby. Can I have the name of the firm again? It cut out when we were talking about that.
Taddeo and Sheehan and Reisner.
Todd Reisner, can you provide?
Taddeo, Sheehan and Reisner is the name of the firm. I believe they're integral into the creation of CON legislation across the state. Karen Taddeo was the author of that legislation, and I think her insight can be invaluable. I'm not here to propagate legislation. I am simply saying that we should engage them with questions on, do we have an issue here? You know, can you give us some insight on what is going on here? Because they could guide us as a council on what our next steps should be. I'm not proposing that we engage in litigation with this law firm to represent us. Let me make that clear. But I do believe they could give us insight on what our next steps should be.
Thank you, Todd. Any further discussion? Very well. Alicia, I don't mean to inconvenience you, but would you be able to do a roll call vote for us, please?
Sure.
And the motion at hand from Terry Parker and seconded by Mickey is that we reach out to the law firm that Todd has suggested on a opinion basis. We do that for no money, and we seek their opinion on next steps.
All right.
Go ahead, Alicia.
This is Dan. I have one question.
Okay.
Go for it, Dan.
Who would be the person that would reach out? I would presume that would be either Tim or Tom.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
All right. Am I good to start calling people?
Dan, I would respectively offer that I would not be involved in the reach out to the law firm due to that the nature that my brother is a partner in that law firm, so I would stay at arm's length on this reach out. If that's helpful.
Okay, I will call the roll call of those that are in attendance. Jessica Gaines,
Yes.
Scott Lampier,
No.
Dan Marsh,
Yes.
Terry Parker.
Yes, it's my motion.
Oh, right, sorry. Tom Sampson,
Yes.
Chris Baker,
Yes.
Dorothy Button, Dorothy,
Yes,
are you still?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mickey Fornes,
Yes.
Bobby Kuhn,
No.
Dan Parr, Harry Parr's alternate,
Yes.
Todd Reisner,
Yes.
Tim Richardson,
No.
Dr. Walters,
No.
Priscilla Baines. Sorry, she's not on. Jen Gutman.
I'm going to abstain from this.
Okay. Dan Infeld.
I'm also going to abstain.
Okay. Bill.
No.
Kevin Peebles.
Yes.
Brian Wilcox.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 2 abstentions, 5 no's.
Oh, this is Ed Frederickson. I didn't get a vote. I'll vote no.
Ed, my apologies. Did I miss anyone else?
Alicia, it's Jeff. If Bonnie's not on, I believe I'm her proxy.
Dan, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Jeff Lucky.
Yes.
Okay. Let me count it up real quick. 1 second.
Alicia, I'm gonna change my vote.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. That's 7 no.
Alicia,
Yep.
I may need to abstain because of my brother's involvement with the law firm. I may
Okay.
need to abstain.
All right. So let me count this up, guys. Just give me a second. So that's 12 yes, 7 no, and 2 abstentions.
Very well. Let me just remind you as points of order that during a roll call vote, changing your vote after you voted is kind of irregular. We will accept those this evening and proceed. At this point, in response to Dana Jonas's email, I will list myself as the point person for the council. We have imposed on Tim Richardson quite enough. Moving
Thank you.
forward, like I said, I will list myself so that the state can move forward. And at the same time, we will seek consultation to see what our standing is, and if further action is warranted before our next meeting, I will reach out in accordance with our bylaws. Is there any other new business for the council? Is there any other new business? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Brian Wilcox.
Is there a second for that?
Bill Johnston, second.
Very well. We will meet next on June 2nd. And the meeting is adjourned.